I'm the director of operations for a small team. We are based out of the Mapleton office. So it's my wife and my mom, and I do marketing and lead follow-up lead generation.
Becca.
Becca, yeah. So
I've been to a few of her classes.
okay,
So.
she's a phenomenal teacher, and I just try to be as good as her. But today we're going to be talking about keeping every lead. The last class that you were in should have been now I forgot what it was called.
Lead gen.
Yeah, it was a lead gen. And so this is just a continuation of now you've done your lead generation. How do you keep all of your leads? See if she wants to work today. So, okay, here we go. The last one was capture more leads. So now we're in this third section of lead follow-up, and today's that keep every lead. Today's agenda, what we're going to be talking about, what is lead follow-up, how to do the lead follow-up, what to do after you've done the lead follow-up, and then talk about the recaps and ahas, and then I'll answer any questions that you have specifically, trying to help you get going. So what is lead follow-up in your opinion?
Keeping contact with those leads after the fact. And I'm bad at this because a lot of times I'll just get my card and say, hey, I'd love to hear from you again. And from lead gen, I need to capture their email address or at least their phone number so I can follow up with them, a few days or a week later to keep the conversation going. Otherwise, my card just kind of goes on the floor of their car and it's garbage the next time. And then, oh yeah, I did that guy. I threw his card away. Oh well.
Yep.
Somebody else.
Yep, absolutely. Being able to be more proactive in the process because, and we're going to get into talking about it, but being able to stay top of mind is what's really going to secure your future as their agent. So this here is kind of the life of a lead. They say that people move every 7 to 10 years. Over the last few years, we saw that kind of shrink down, but with home prices and interest rates, we're starting to see that expand. Depending on the price range of the buyer as well, that affects it. First-time home buyers seem to move anywhere between 3 and 5 years, and then kind of the more established people later in life are going to move a little bit longer than 7 to 10 years. But this is kind of the averages that we base all of our calculations off of. So for lead follow-up, the framework, what we want to do is I don't understand what's going on with these. This is supposed to be a lovely arrow going from all the possible business to the leads that you've received, taking them down to probable business. That's going to be through contacting them and then taking that probable business into a sold, which is going to be your profitable business. Perfect. So this quote coming from the MREA handbook says, if you aren't first or second in their mind, you probably won't get the business. Have you read the MREA yet?
No.
I highly recommend it. Even if you don't have intentions of building a big business, it really is a good place to start learning all about the systems that you could take to that level, but even just in a small working by, as a solo agent, yeah. It provides invaluable resources. In the MREA, they talk about they talk about a study where they ask participants to name potato chip brands, and so they go through and they ask, everyone can name 4 or 5. That you've got the Lay's, you've got Doritos, and basically what it came down to is there's thousands of brands of potato chips out there, but most people can only name 3 or 4. And what we're doing in this business is basically the same thing. Is your close-knit circle of friends, they're going to remember what you did, but the people, welcome, hi, no worries. We're talking about lead follow-up today. So your close-knit group of friends, they'll remember what you do for work, but will their spouses, will the other people that you just casually meet, when they're like, oh, I need a real estate agent, will they remember that that's what you do? And that even goes a little step further into, do they know that you help buyers and sellers and investors? Do they know that you can help someone buy a new construction home? So being able to communicate with these people regularly enough that you're in that first or second position. The data on this says that 72% of first-time home buyer, or the 72% of home buyers only hire one agent, and it was 82 or 83% of sellers only interview one person. So if you're that first person, you have a high probability of getting this stuff. And then after that, you will, like, most, if they don't interview more than one, only interview two. Very rarely have I heard of anything where they are interviewing higher. We went on a listing appointment, this was like 2021, where the guy had interviewed 13 people, which it was just crazy. Like,
A massive time investment on his part.
that's, I couldn't imagine sitting through 13 different presentations and yeah, so it was wild. It was actually one we got, so that was even
Oh, sweet.
better. Yeah,
Better.
yeah, I was like, yeah, it was one that I went, because it was a Google call. I went on it with her just to make sure she didn't get murdered. And I'm not quite sure what we did better than everyone else, but that was just crazy. So
Did you follow up?
what's that?
Did you follow up with him?
We did. We happened to be, I think we were the second to last. I think we were like number 12 or 13. And so he told us when he was making his decision by, so we called, and he might have called us before we called him. Now that I think about it, I think he might have called us and told us that we'd gotten it, but yeah, so that was a crazy one. Very, very unusual. Like, I would say over the past 2 or 3 years, on ones we've competed with, and almost all the ones we compete with are coming from like Google. I do a lot of marketing that gets us Google calls semi-regularly, and on almost all of those, it's usually 2 to 3 agents that are interviewing. So even in those, it's
That makes sense, because it's not a referral from a friend.
exactly,
It's free out of phone.
yeah,
Phone book.
yeah, it's
Right.
through the phone book. So you have to answer when they call.
Yeah.
And you have to have, good past customer reviews and stuff to give them the trust to call you. And then from there, it's going to be your presentation that helps them. But yeah, so we'll continue on. But any ahas yet? Okay. So let's talk about how to do lead follow-up. So the fortune is in the follow-up. You're going to see this chart all throughout Ignite series. Today, we're going to be talking mostly here in this leads section, which is the 19 to connect. In the past sessions, we've talked about the difference between leads and a contact. Do you know what that is, or what do you feel that is? So do you guys know what the difference between a lead and just a contact is? No worries.
So a
Okay, so a lead is somebody who has raised their hand and said, I have intentions of doing some type of business. So it's, you met them at an open house, you met them in line at a grocery store, somebody you're emailing, and they reached out and said, hey, I want to do some type of real estate this year. So the best system that we teach to connect with these people are going to be this 19 to connect system, which is going to include 4 touches, which are like a quarterly phone calls. 12 touches, something like a monthly email, newsletter, market report, video. 2 touches, which is going to be promotional direct mail, such as magnets, calendars, a printed market report, or something to that effect. And 1 touch would be an annual event, party, movie screening, and get together. This is kind of the bare minimum. One of the cool things that this office does is in July, they do a pool party at 7 Peaks where they subsidize the cost of the tickets really heavily. I think it's like $8 or something to get a ticket, so you can market it out to your database to get people there, and then that gives you excuses to call and text and email them about it, which helps hit some of these other points. Then they also do the same thing with a pumpkin patch at Jakers in Springville, usually late September, and same type of thing where it's just really heavily discounted so that you can have a reason to get face to face with your clients and get communicating with them. So lead follow-up best practices, considerations for your lead follow-up program. What are your strengths when working with people, and how can you adapt those 19 connections to represent you? When you're doing pretty much anything in your business, you want to be as true to yourself as possible, because like for me, I personally know I'm not going to call people. Like my database never gets a phone call from me because it's not what I am and not who my friends, if I called, would look at it and be like, there's something seriously wrong because Brady's calling me. He probably needs help moving, but but for me, I text. So I'll send them texts, things like that to reach out so that it's congruent with my personality. Because if you wake up and you dread what you have to do, it's going to be really hard to pull yourself through doing those things. So what are some reasons that you might have for contacting a lead? What are some touches to do before or after a phone call? Any ideas on why or what reasons you could be used to contact a lead?
One of my strengths is just my friends aren't surprised if they get a call from me, but they also not surprised if hey, you're having lunch next week. That's very typical for me. My inner circle of 20 or 25, like
that's awesome.
I'm pretty good. Usually about once a week I go to lunch with somebody.
That's fantastic.
It might be somebody that I haven't worked with in a year or two.
Mm-hmm.
And I say worked with because I came from tech, so past friends from companies, even guys that I worked with as long as 6 years ago, I'll reach out, hey, once or twice a year. Hey, how's it going? What's going on? Want to grab lunch next week, catch up? Like that's not out of the blue.
That's an incredible.
That's my strength. Cold calling strangers out of the blue, not my strength unless they reached out first. So
yeah, no, that's great, because I also came from tech background and I see 2 of my old friends from my job regularly, and everyone else I've forgotten their names.
yeah.
So actually I see a 3rd one because he's got kids in my kid's school. So
I love it.
but yeah, so that's a great way to do it. Another thing, like let's just use the example of working an open house, and someone comes through and they show interest, you get their information. How could you connect with them after the fact?
See, this is where I've been bad because, like I told you before,
Mhm.
I'd give them a card, say, hey, I'd love to help you out if you have any questions. I'm pretty mellow. I'm not over the top aggressive on the hard sell. Hey, you like me,
Yeah.
but it's, hey, I'm here if you need me. And I figure it's low pressure, low contact. That's kind of the way I am. And
Yeah.
that fits my personality, which is good that I know that. But like I mentioned to you, I need to be better about collecting their information so I can follow up with them because they don't, but I will.
Yeah.
So
I think one thing that helped me in that mindset shift is looking at it is that I'm not contacting them to bug them, to pressure them. I want to contact them to add value. And so that's where I would look at is trying, if I need to contact somebody, you know, they've raised their hand and said, hey, I'm looking for this house. You met him, let's say you met him in an open house. Not saying that's has to be your strategy, but if that's where you met him, you kind of know what type of home they're looking for because they came through that. They probably gave you some insights that you know, oh, hey, we want to be in this school, XYZ. There's something they've told you that you can go back and say, okay, cool. Oh, you know, and then you go to the MLS and you find a different property that maybe doesn't have an open house, or um, maybe the listing agent did something wrong, so it's not coming up easily for a search for they're looking. And then you can take that thing and say, hey, you know, it was great meeting you at the open house. I just found this home that hits some of these other criteria. What are your thoughts on it? Because then you're starting to cement that value that, hey, I have resources. It's going to be easier to do this with me than on your own going to open houses randomly. Another one that I've heard, I haven't done personally, but they will schedule a home in like a showing request for right after their open house ends in a home that's very similar close by. So then when somebody's walking through, they can be like, actually, I was going to go preview this other home just up the street. You know, I don't know how I feel about it because there is that, like, I'm kicking a seller out of their house. Maybe if you did a vacant home,
Yeah,
you'd feel better about it. But I have heard people successfully doing that. So then as people are walking through, they can say, hey, I've got this open house, or after I leave here, I'm going to preview this home over here. Would you like to come? It's really very like
yeah.
low pressure. So that is some way that you could connect with a lead that,
Harder to do now, right?
yeah, a little bit.
In New York since August.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I hadn't thought about that since that changed.
I got
So
one day,
Are you talking about when you have to sign the buyer agreement?
yeah. Like, and I even a guy that I worked with several years ago, like I did a 7-day with him. Because he didn't want to be locked down. I'm like, dude, I totally get it. Like, we've been friends for 5 years. We worked together. Actually, 6 years ago, we worked together. I'm like, let's do a 7-day.
Yep.
No months after the fact, like, because if he's and kind of the attitude of my old brokerage was, hey, if they want to screw you, not screw you, but like kind of hose you a little bit, they're not your people.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of, you know, we're very abundance mindset at my previous brokerage, and I totally agree with it. Like, if they want to hose you, I don't want to work with them anyways. Like,
I completely agree.
and so I'm like, dude, I've known you for 6 years. We worked to like sat literally across from each other, like here to that chair. Lunch every 2 or 3 months, like we kept contact, and I'll do a 7-day with you.
I
Sure.
think it wasn't you. I bet it was just like,
Well, he just, I get it.
really
He doesn't
wanna
want to be
sell.
under contracts. And so I'm like, hey, they're not in a hurry to move. They own a house, but if they can find something better, then they're ready to go. So we've been through a few in 6 months.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that. Every few months, I'm like, hey, gotta have you sign a new one. And they keep getting longer.
Yep.
Because he gets annoyed when you go see one and then it expires and 3 days later he wants to go see one. So like at this point, we've dated long enough. I always
You're
relate to
courting.
dating. Hey, let's go. We've been through enough houses together. You know how I am. You know what I think.
Yeah.
Like,
See, with him, I would probably be like, hey, let's stop with all the unnecessary paperwork. We're gonna put it out a year. If you want to cancel it anytime, just send me an email. I'll cancel it. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But
I'm the same way.
I
yeah,
don't think he's looking for someone better. He's
Yeah.
No,
like scared of
No, he just
commitment.
doesn't like to be under contract. I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah. it makes sense, but we actually have a client who will write an offer for one with or sign a broker for one offer for one house because he works with he's an investor. He works with a lot of people, so he's like, I want to go look at this house. I'll sign it for this, and it's been a good relationship, but it's very much if someone else something he doesn't want to
Yeah.
dabble in that. So,
And you gotta be adaptable to meet them where they are, right?
Yep.
Because I could scare him away very easily if I tried to twist his arm to do anything. And it's, hey, it's just not the way I would roll anyways.
Yep.
So I would want to be treated that way.
yeah, for sure.
Have you ever done a cancellation where you fill it out and you sign it, but it's sitting with them where they have the option to sign it? It's not
I've
just
never,
word of mouth, you trust me.
yeah, we've never done that, but we have written up like a cancellation guarantee
Okay,
with it, and I can't remember the word
Something like that.
verbiage, but it was basically like, you know, pursuant to the contract, like if you choose to cancel, there's no fees, anything, unless whatever section of them going out and buying the house I showed them.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
Sorry, I'm getting you off.
No,
track, Brady,
no
but I
worries.
appreciate, you guys clearly have a diverse client base, and so I thought you might have some good insight.
yeah, we just throw it in there as a, hey, you can cancel at any point in time. Just let us know. And there's no concern whatsoever. Like we try to just do it based off of trust, but
Right.
when it's someone,
Sometimes
yeah,
clients, that extra piece of paper.
Yeah. yeah, because we do about 75% of our business is repeat and referrals, and those.
Yeah.
We could lock them into a 12-year contract and they would be fine with it, but that other 25% is a lot more skeptical. So, so how are you using conversations to let the person know that you're in real estate, how to contact you and how to refer business? When you're talking with somebody, how do you convey that you're in real estate? How you like to connect with people?
My contact. I've been trying to get more of them in here. And then on Instagram, I think I have like 1,200. Yes, I have over 1,000 followers, and all of them I know personally. And then that's usually how I talk to people. And then in my phone, my husband and our phones are tethered, so it says we have 700 together. But I think I just have like 300 or 400, but I'm just trying to like sift through. But what I put into my computer is like 200. And I've noticed, like, as I've kept track of how I've like talked to them passing, I've gotten through to maybe 60 in 3 weeks. And it's just because of just conversation and, well, obviously I'm not doing what I used to do, which is just take care of my kids all day, and I have something else to do, so. That's like what's going on with me, and I tell them what to do.
That's a great way to segue into it.
Once I get on Instagram, I'm still waiting for other things to get set up before I can. Like it'll be better. But I have like one lead. They're still training them.
That's great. Great place to start. So are you brand new
You know, I think I started on the 7th.
of January?
Yeah,
Oh, wow. Well, welcome.
pretty new.
Yeah.
I think you picked the best brokerage to be at, so congratulations.
Nothing in holding good. I'm so not. Everyone makes fun of me. I don't do email. All my contacts, I have maybe like one email. It's like a grandma's, like my grandma. That's how she communicates with me. But like, we don't email, we text and we Instagram, and that's our communication. I don't know, I've had a best friend since I was like 7 years old, and she's the only one I call. I don't even text her. If I don't text her, that's our communication. So yeah, you're right. If like I call somebody, they think something like that.
Well, to make you feel better about email, I joined my wife in 2020. And up till that point, she only sent 3 emails to the database. And she was she was successful enough that she retired me from my other job. So since then, we send emails all the time, but they are not a necessary part of this. Like it's just a tool. And if it's a tool that you're comfortable using, that's great. If not, just adapt and find other tools. So
Just learning how to type things. Hard enough with me, like with a computer.
for me, Chat GPT is the coolest
Oh
thing
my
ever
God.
when it comes, because I can tell it all the parameters of, I want this email to be, easy to read, 5th grade reading level, cheery, upbeat. And I put all the parameters into it, and then I write out my normal email. And then it just, especially the longer you use it, the more it starts to sound like you, and it just pops out this beautiful, like, and I'm like, I put a lot of effort going into it, but then on the backside, that what it comes out is just beautiful. So
Better than you could have done if you spent 2 hours on it.
yeah, and I do probably spend like an hour inputting data and information in, because the more better information you put in, the better you're getting out. But that's one of my big tricks, is I just leverage any technology I can to make things easier. So when is it best for me and my business to time block for lead follow-up? This is,
So coming from 20 years in tech,
Mhm.
if I'm calling people, it's gonna be at between 5 and 6, 4:30 and 6, actually. And texts can go throughout because I'm trying to catch driving home from work, if I know that I'm working from home.
Mhm.
Otherwise, texts anytime throughout the day. So, or, up until maybe 9:30 at night, because I'm very organic. I don't have a big yet, like I have my previous brokerage, I managed my client list through a Google Doc, and most of it was honestly just through text and phone call. So. Yeah, lead follow-up is, I give them a couple of days. If it's somebody I just met, I'll give them a few days and then find something of value to send them.
Mhm.
Because if it's just, hey, want to go see this house? Like, I want to try and find something and say, hey, here are 2 or 3 that I thought would be interesting, because it shows that I invested in some time in thinking about what might be beneficial for them.
for sure. Yeah, I like that, especially if you meet them and then it's like a weekend where they're like, they're probably spending a lot of time thinking about it, and you come back to them on Monday and you say, hey, here's these things. Then it's like,
Hey,
oh,
this just came on the
yeah.
market. I thought this might be cool. Curious what you think about this.
Yep. One of the tools we use on the MLS, you can set up hot sheets and you can send those to people, or you can just send them to yourself. So we'll sometimes, when we have someone who's like, they're a lead,
Like listing alerts.
yeah, listing
So new
alerts.
alerts.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So we'll set them up specifically for the parameters for that client, but then only send them to ourselves. If they're actively shopping, they get those. But if they're kind of like,
Yeah.
I want to do something, but I don't know when or where, or, we'll just set up a parameter so it emails us, first thing in the morning. We get into our email, we see, oh, hey, this house actually would be good. And then we are the hero because we're sending it. When the system sends it, it feels like it comes from you, but when you text them and say, hey, here's this email or this property that might be a good fit for you, let me know if you want me to schedule a showing. It really elevates that level of like,
Yeah, I get 5 or 6 emails every morning
Mhm.
with different hot sheets because I want to pre-vet them. And so, just because you're a new agent, when I cast my net, when I set up my listing alerts, my price range, if they say their max is 600, I'm going to put it at 620 or 630. So I'm going to cast a little bigger net to try to catch something awesome, so I don't miss something. And that's why I send it to myself, because then I can run through and look at the 3 or 4 or 5 that come through for them in the morning. Yeah, no, that's terrible. No, that's terrible. Ooh, this is awesome. And then I'll send it direct to them. If you got 45 clients, you probably, prospective clients, you probably can't go to that depth, but smaller. So, I have 5 or 6 different listing alerts every morning that I skim through.
Yeah. And we even just look at everything that's listed every day.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. So like we just every day, all the new listings we go through and just check things out. You never know what, sometimes it'll remind us that, hey, someone in, this neighborhood, like we'll see a house that's one of their neighbors, and then that just gives us an excuse to contact, even if they're not a lead at that point in time. They're someone we've sold to in the past. We can say, hey, your neighbor's house is for sale. I think they're up in the night on the price. What, like, and you just start a conversation about it, or,
Yeah.
it just gives you a reason to,
Another one I've heard actually is, how Zillow has their estimate, not to hate on Zillow too much, but if you have a friend who you are looking for an excuse to reach out to, send them their house. Hey, Zillow, the screenshot of Zillow. Hey, Zillow thinks your house is worth this. What do you think?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, right?
Yep.
Like, and if they've been there 5, 6, 7 years, it might not be a bad idea to, and they say, oh yeah, that's terrible, or it sounds about right to me. We were kind of starting to think about this, or we'd move here for these reasons. It's kind of a good way to start conversations.
it definitely is. Zillow has gotten much better, closer on the pricing now that they have access to broker metrics.
Yeah.
But it's still, they oftentimes will run a little bit high, which, just is kind of that fun. Here's this thing. Back to our question about, no worries. I get off track all the time, so it's my brain, it loves it. Best time for time block and lead follow-up. Honestly, answer to that would be whenever you can just dedicate the times. Like, if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. And I highly recommend anyone time block certain parts of our job, and lead follow-up is probably the most important because it's the thing that you need to do. We have this thing in the industry called the roller coaster, where we work really, really hard to get clients, and then we get those clients, and then we stop the lead follow-up because now we're doing real work where we're servicing the leads. We're making sure that the inspections, the appointments, the things, and we don't prioritize lead generation, lead follow-up. So you get to the top where you're about to make some money, and then, oh crap, I don't have anything else. So then we start grinding to do more business, and we just see this roller coaster. And the best thing we can do as agents is minimize those peaks and valleys by having your lead generation and your lead follow-up times time blocked before you even start work for the week. You know what days and what times you're going to be following up with these leads.
One little hack I found that works for me is I'll wake up sometime in the middle of the night or right before I go to bed. I'm like, "Ooh, I need to do this."
Mhm.
And I can't go to bed until I've written it down because I know I will forget. So I'll set an alarm on my phone, right? If I'm not at my computer to.
Yeah.
Or you can put on your calendar, but then I schedule it once my kids are out the door, at 9:00, 9:05, my alarm goes off saying you need to do this today. And I'll either then add it to my calendar, or that way I can actually go to sleep. So I'm like, oh, I forgot to do that. Or this would be a really good idea. And I kind of feel like sometimes you're getting jabbed, like your intuition is hitting you. Oh, I need to reach out to this person. And you got to listen to that, because sometimes there's been a time or two where I didn't do it. And my old next door neighbor listed her house with another agent in the neighborhood. She didn't even like that lady, but she forgot I was an agent. If I had done it, I would have had another listing.
Exactly.
So
Do you use Google Suite?
Yeah.
One thing that my coach introduced me to six months ago or so, and it's been life changer. For a long time, I used Google Keep as just kind of a parking lot. It's a little app that you go in, and I still use it for like my shopping lists and tracking the books I read every year. But Google in their calendar has a thing called tasks, and there's different categories of tasks, and that's where I put all of my stuff now. So like if there's well, like this morning, my first thing that pops up Monday through Friday is to check my 411. My very first thing I do every day. For a while, it was on my calendar, but my calendar just is so much stuff on it that I would overlook it. But now it pops up as hey, this task needs to be done. And then I get that gratification of once I've gone in,
checking it.
it checks it and it goes away until tomorrow, and then it comes back. And you can do that with one-time tasks or repeating tasks. I love it. It's super valuable. Yeah.
The store manager for a store called BB for about, and but I did Murray, Salt Lake City, and then Seattle. And then I was in charge of all the clienteling for our district, so like Denver, Seattle, Vegas, all. But what we did was, since it's like a high-end women's store, we needed clientele, and we really thrived off it, especially because PB is shut down now, and most of the clientele that would come in at the end were all returned, so we have to return it. And I gave everybody a calendar, and I would make the girls call their 5 or 10 people, and then we would plot it out like a month later. And so every day they came in, they would either have appointments on the day or people to contact on the day.
Mhm.
And so I think that's what I've been trying to figure out how to do with technology, is to, like, I have people that I've called or text every day, and just to plot it out so that I have it on the docket in like a reasonable space of time instead of being kind of disorganized.
Yeah.
I can be disorganized if I don't, track everything,
So are you planning on using Command as a CRM? So there is a class taught by, it's recorded on the KW Westfield YouTube page, and it's by Josh Barrett about, it's DTD2. And I would highly recommend watching it. So it's DTD2, and his name is Josh Barrett. but this, he goes through and someone somewhere came up with a system of taking the last letters of the names, like uh, Anderson and Bentley, but they merged it out to 13. So there's two letters. It's like T and E or something, but that every week it should have about the same percentage of people to contact. And you go into command and you tag your contacts in a certain way, and then at the beginning of each quarter, you have it set up to repeat 4 times a year. So when you wake up that day, you know that you're going to be contacting all of your T's and E's or whatever, and it can even pull those up to the front page to where it shows you who those people are. Because then you can go in and you say, I'm going to send them a text. If you send them a text, you go put in your notes in that it's done, and it'll come back up in 13 weeks. And if you're looking for a system to really just, the setup is a bit grueling. I paid well, at the time he was 12, I paid him to go through our full database and tag everyone based off of their last name. And probably the best $100 I've ever spent, but that just a game changer, because it's like I know who to contact. So,
Gives you some organization.
it does. And I don't have to really think anything more than, like, I open up command and I say who I'm supposed to contact this week. I actually have a little printout, which I need to print for this year, because it's still last year, that tells me which week I'm going to be contacting which letters. And it just makes it nice and easy. And
So anytime I know you're a texter, so anytime you text one of your leads in your database, do you actually go into command and log that with that client?
if it's a real estate purpose, yes. If I'm doing it because it's my time to contact them, I do.
Okay,
If I say I'm going to lunch with one of them, I probably won't put it in there if
Okay.
it's just like a casual friend thing. But when I go back in my next 13-week follow-up, and it's set, it
They come
says,
up, then you'll
yeah, they come up,
add
and
them to it.
I go back to my text and I say, oh, hey, I went to lunch with him 3 weeks ago or whatever. I may not contact him again, but I'll put notes in at that point in time, like, hey, I went to lunch with him on this date.
I'm still new to command, so I'm figuring out like what really
Yeah,
works.
there's so much in command to learn. It is,
I don't think you can use it all.
no, it's
Like,
super
Everybody
overwhelming.
uses, if you're using 60-70% of it that works for you, that's
Mhm.
probably you're successfully using it, I think.
I would say, based off of my knowledge, a majority of people are probably only using 30% of it. We, to my knowledge, are one of the few teams that use like a lot of it, because I send my emails from there. We use the CRM feature. We use the relocation tools. Like there's a lot there, and this market center is great because they make us use the commissions tab, which once you're fully invested in it, it works pretty good. So like, just been a really hard learning curve, especially for those of us who've been here longer than command. There's a guy named Marty Miller, who does a 66-day challenge that's on YouTube. If you want to really learn command, I've gone through the 66 days multiple times just to try to see if there's anything I'm missing. And you just watch, I want to say they're less than an hour every day. And I just
that long.
try, yeah, exactly. So, and then the last question here is, how much time should it take to reach out to a lead? How do you hold yourself accountable? And what do you need to do to make sure this happens? So these are all things that you need to decide in your business. How do you structure your day and your expectations so that you are following up? Because if you don't have a system to hold yourself accountable, it'll be like, I don't want to bug him. And then 3 or 4 days go by and all of a sudden they're now gone out and seen another open house with it. And
Yeah.
You're an agent they don't even remember anymore. So you just want to make sure that you come up with a system that works for you, and one that you can hold yourself accountable. Okay, so this is going to be just kind of a quick little activity we're going to do where you're going to create your 19 to Connect plan. And you know that this has some ideas. The thing I would start with is decide an event that you want to do. You could use one of the two or both of the two that Keller does, or you could come up with one of your own. Our team, we do, I think this year we have 8 events. So like we, because we don't do any cold calling, cold prospecting, it's all about our SOI and database.
Yeah.
So part of the 19 to Connect will funnel into, let's see if, thought it was here, but apparently not. Oh, we're jumping a long way. This is where we put almost all of our eggs, is this connection of 36 to Connect, rather than the 19 to, or 36 to convert, rather than the 19 to Connect. But so we do a lot of events. We just had one last week where we took 120 of our clients, past clients only, to a restaurant in American Fork called Solagave, and then afterwards we did a movie. So we do that every January. It's past clients and referral partners only. And then we have Pie Day, which is March 14th, where we take pies to everybody. Once again, past clients. Then we have an Easter egg hunt in April. In May, we're doing spring cleanup. We own a moving truck, so we send out a sign-up sheet for our past clients. Hey, help us protect the value of your home. Let's get rid of that unwanted junk. And we just spend a couple days picking up garbage from our clients' houses. Costs us almost nothing. You know, it's a couple $100 between gas and the truck, or not the truck, the dump fees. Then we do a pool party. We don't do it with the office anymore just because our team's a little too big to do that. So we rent out Linden Aquatic Center and we do that. Then we do a pumpkin patch at the same place as the office, but we do it with another team out of the Mapleton office. And then we do photos with Santa in December. So we just tons of events all the time, just to us reasons to contact people essentially.
Best reason for having this job, man. You get to throw parties.
Yeah, and I'm the one who gets to plan it. It's like
Yeah.
that's even better. Like I get to be like, ooh, what do my people want to do this year?
Exactly.
So, but that's where I would start on building out your touch plan, because if you know when your event or events is going to be, then it's easy for you to plan your contacts leading up to it. And then you can work out from that point. So if I were, or when I do this, I look at my events and I say, okay, I have them every quarter so that I can contact people about an event every quarter. But if you're only doing it once a year, all right, we're going to do one in June. And leading into it, we're going to have one contact to everybody in the database. So then I would work back and do your, well, promotional direct mail. That I would try to offset that from my event. So for example, when we send out, I think it was 2022, we sent out, it was a magnet with like measuring conversions. And it was just a little small logo on it to put on your fridge. So like when you're baking or whatever, you have conversions right there. And we sent that out in November because it was a light month or light time of year where we're just not touching as many people. So you try to find two things that, you know, fit your personality. Like if you're, if you're not into sports or something, I wouldn't send something out that's jazz calendar because it wouldn't make sense for your personality to be sending it. You really want to hone in on what your personality is, because that's who you're going to be working with most of the time. It's somebody who likes you for who you are, not for being a jack of all trades. And then I would plan out your 12 annual occurrences. These things could be emails. Right now, our team, we send out an email to our full database, which would be this 19 Connect. We do send one out as a second one out just to our past clients. We send out birthday cards to everyone that we have birthday, um, their birth dates for. So that's one thing that I try to collect throughout a lot of different ways, so that they get a handwritten birthday card. And a little trick on that for us, it was hard to like, how do you construct a message for these people that you may not be super friends with or whatever? I've gone in and actually created a template, and I have two different templates so that when you have spouses or partners, that they're not getting the same exact message. And I try to personalize it when possible, but when it's something like, I'm like, I just don't know them that well, it's still better just to have a quick like template. So every Tuesday I write all my birthday cards and I just look at my template, quickly jot it down. And then every January I change out my template. Something they don't have here, it would be home anniversary cards. We do those as well. And same thing, I have a script from 1 to 10. And come June, I'm gonna add an 11th because I don't think they're moving this year, so they need a new script, you know, and just, I do the script simply just to make my job easier when I have to write something that I don't have to think.
Sit down and you've got 8 different birthday
Yeah,
comments,
yeah, and
it's a blocker to getting it done.
yeah, and like,
Yeah.
yeah. See, I went in, I wrote my scripts, and this was before Chat GPT. And then like 2 years ago, when it was starting to come out, I went in and I threw mine in and it popped out even better ones. I'm like, yes. So, but now it's just every year I just change up the birthday ones. And have a system because, just so that two partners don't get the same message and devalue the effort that you're putting into it, because like it's so exciting to open up your mail and see something handwritten to you, and you open it up and like, oh, somebody thought of me. It's just really kind of nice. And I'd even say on birthday cards, we send them on unbranded cards with our home address so that it doesn't feel like it's business. On the home anniversary cards, they're on a team branded card coming from the office, so that it's like little subtle things, but that way it's like, I care about you. That's why I'm sending this. And then
Does it have a stamp for your home address?
no,
You handwrite it?
I handwrite.
I did that for Christmas cards this year and it was,
For
I
Chris,
could break it up across a couple of days. So
For-
I don't have that big of a database network, but
yeah, for Christmas cards, we actually send them out to our full database, even like the people who I wouldn't normally send a Christmas card to, like full database gets them because we want them to feel like they're a part of the family. But for those, I actually just have all of I do it through Costco Shutterfly deal, and I have them print the return address and
okay.
the mailing address. My mom on our team, actually, she has beautiful like cursive handwriting. She writes it all out, and I'm like,
Okay.
that would take me months to
Yeah.
get. I think we sent 400 out this year, and just wild. So, but I do think it looks prettier. But I I have a printer. Actually, I think the office printers can do this too, but that can print envelopes. So sometimes I'll just set up and just send all the full thing. But on a birthday card, I always want the handwriting written. Just yeah, exactly. Like I would say we probably average 5 to 6 a week. And then there's a few weeks where it's like there's like 10, but it's really not a big deal. And I just sit down, and when I worked in this office before we opened up ours down in Mapleton, I would actually just bring the cards down to team meeting and sit in here and just write them while
Yeah.
the presentations and stuff are going, because then I'm here, but I'm also getting that done. Yep. Other things that you can do, neighborhood newsletters, you can either do this manually or you can do this through the command. They have the neighborhood snapshot, I think they call, and you can send it out as an email that says, hey, this is the average price in your neighborhood. These are the houses that are in your neighborhood that are for sale. And I don't love the automated version of it, but it works relatively okay. It can send videos, and then like we talked about, calling, texting, conversations. One thing that is really hard for my brain to grasp. My wife does a majority of her contacts through Instagram or Facebook. So like in some of the other sessions, you'll learn about the was it the 10-10-1? It's you go and you connect and text and message and comment and different things in Facebook. And she's been doing that really for the last 12 years now. And it's why she's successful. Is for me, it's like I can't quantify how she works, but she does a great job. And it's because she's just contacting, touching people all the time on through social media. Any questions on any of these? One thing that I'm actually implementing on the event or adding to this after working with my coach last week, he was like, one thing that you should do is anyone who signs up for your event and then doesn't show up, touch them afterwards and say, hey, saw you weren't able to make it. Really missed you there. You noticed you weren't there. Sorry, something, like hopefully you can make it to the next one because that means a lot to somebody to realize that you weren't there. They weren't there. So, so here we're just trying to make an impact. We're focusing on the value. We all hate salespeople who just are trying to sell it at any cost. If you're adding value to somebody's life, it's going to help you out in the long run. One of the things that I feel has been really beneficial for us is as I started sending the emails, Becca came to me and she said, she hates getting emails. So she said, you need to build an email that somebody would pay you $1 to get. And that's been my whole, that's all I do is how do I add enough value that somebody that's getting this email opens it up with at least a little bit of excitement to, not just to open to unsubscribe or mark us as spam. And we have really good open rates. And I attribute it all to the fact that I'm just trying to provide value to everyone that opens it. If you're just a little side note of how I framework if you're familiar with the DISC personality test that Tony Robbins does, it breaks everyone down into a D, an I, an S, or a C personality. I have formatted my email to touch all 4 of those personalities in it. And it's just the same template every week for your S personality so that they know what to expect when they open it up. It has data, but it also has the fluffy write-up. So the driven people, aren't going to read our synopsis. They want the data. Our party people, the eyes at the beginning of it tells them what events are coming up. So it's very carefully structured to give everyone's personality type a little bit of something in that email. And then our other emails that we do is a monthly giveaway. So that also has trained people to open it because they get free stuff when they do. So that's how I've added value, is just making sure what I'm adding is relevant, that there's not a whole lot of salesy stuff. At the very end of the emails, I usually have one like call to action, either a video about our team or something, or how they can send referrals, but it's always something really small at the very end after I've provided as much value as I can. So let's talk about communication and the potential lead sources. I didn't think this was supposed to pop up until I clicked next, but so potential lead sources, somebody calling in, this is going to be really rare until you've built up your online presence. Unless you're talking, I guess that would be, oh no, sign call-ins over there as well. So call-ins will be pretty rare until later in building your business. Community events, these things are, you could do farmers markets and stuff like that where you're out there meeting people, or charity events. Open houses is, a common one that we talk about a lot. there isn't a lot of agents who are doing open houses, especially to a really high level. But there are some out there, and there's a lot of, like, if you join some of the groups, on social media, Facebook, there's one called Pivot Mastermind Group. That's a great place if you want to go pick people's brains to, how to succeed at a high level with open houses. Social media marketing. So this can be just, either from a business page or from your personal page, depending on what you're doing there. You've got traditional marketing, which would be, every door direct mailers or billboards, signs on the shopping carts in your grocery store, all the different things like that. Your agent website. Our website brings us in 3 to 4 closings a year, from it. So I definitely get one built. The one that Command does is actually really, really quality. It's not what I'm using, but that's built ours before Command was a thing. So the definitely, actually, even the one I have from Command, I'd still say, probably every 6 months I get at least one lead that signs up to look at homes on my KW agent website, and I have no idea how they're finding it. So, never converted one, but I also don't try very hard. So, that is an option. Call outs, it would be, if you decide to prospect for, expireds, for sellers, that is a good place to do call outs. Just a reminder to follow the TCPA guidelines and don't call people who don't want to be called. Past clients, calling and asking for referrals, or, if they're planning on doing something again. Purchase leads, this is if you do something like Zillow and you're buying leads from Zillow to, sorry, got distracted. Buying leads for, buyers or sellers.
People say do that. I've heard people say don't.
Yes, a lot of people are against it. There are some people who make a killing doing it. My mom, who is on our team before she joined us, was with, another agent who bought a ton of Zillow leads, and she got quite a few good closings from it. It's a numbers game, so it's just a lot of, following up. And at the time she was doing it, it was during the it was crazy 2021 timeframe, and she would just have to drop everything to go and meet somebody at a house, and then you have to build rapport quickly. But there are people who do well with it. It's just kind of depends on your personality.
That I was interviewing with, and this whole thing, I think he just buys the leads. And then I think it's like a lottery, it goes out, and then he expects all of his people to like grab one, and then like his people are completely closing like 6 deals this month.
Yeah.
Oh.
Is it the Perry?
Huh?
Is it the Perry group?
No.
Oh, because they are huge in it. And I've got 2 friends on their team that they both doing okay. Like
I just didn't think it was enough, like for me to make it.
yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's some teams and stuff have it to where all you have to do is show up, meet people, and, on the back end, they'll have a transaction coordinator and everyone taking care of everything else. All you have to do is get contracts signed, essentially. I believe that is a really hard business to run, though, because all you're doing is churning constantly to build business. Where right now with our team, we've been building it for 13 years, 12 years. We may not know where business is coming from at the beginning of the year. Like coming in, we have some holdovers from previous years, whatever, but we're also not stressed about churning up new business because we just know that our database is going to take care of us. As long as we send out the emails, as long as we have the events, they show up, they bring their friends, they help build more business. And it just becomes this almost like a train that we put in the work up front, but now it's picking up its own momentum. So I'm not a big fan of buying leads, but I do know there are people who do it really, really well, and they can connect with people really, really easily. I'm not that person. Like, I am kind of introverted. I don't connect with people quickly. So if that's what you need, actually we have an agent in our office, Jen Jorgensen. She's up there on the wall next to on the right-hand side of that red block. She is phenomenal at connecting with people. And it's like does an open house, she gets clients, she's amazing. And I'm just like, I don't get how people do that, but she's amazing. Yeah. So purchasing leads, my big caveat would be do it from somebody reputable. For a little while, we were working with Dave Ramsey, and those were hard leads because the people have very strict like rules of what they want to have 50% saved up, and they're just a lot of stuff that's not as feasible. So they were kind of hard to work with, but they were good quality leads coming from a trusted source. I'd say Zillow, you don't have as much trust with them as because you're just a person fulfilling a need, but you can trust Zillow that they're a little bit, that they're selling you more quality stuff than.
You don't have to pay to give up the buyer agreement right there.
Yes. I'm not sure how. I know that there's some ways of doing touring agreements and stuff, but yeah, basically I'm sure someone knows the answer to this, but we'll see what happens, because I know there's some challenges with what's happened with the lawsuit, and they're going forward. There's going to be more changes likely, but we'll figure them out. They weren't near as scary as everyone thought they would be when it came through. So, so then client referrals. So it's our favorite because they come to you and they already know how amazing you are because they've been hyped up. Sign call-ins, these ones are a huge opportunity on your yard sign when people call to information. A lot of times it is the neighbors curious, but if you really get good at probing, chances are they'll find out that, hey, this house is worth way too much. That means my house is worth way too much. And maybe it is time to upgrade to a better home. And then blogs or newsletters. In all honesty, we have a blog. I've gotten 0 leads from our blog. Going to the marketing aspect, I do believe it helps keeps us relevant on Google and all of that, but I've never gotten a lead from a blog or from our monthly newsletter. So things to kind of put into your brain, questions to ask are going to be like, why are you thinking of buying or selling? Starting to probe for that pain that, oftentimes they'll mask it with a little bit of something, but if you can dig down deep enough, find the pain, that's what's really going to be motivating the move, especially in a market like this where a lot of people, over the last few years have 5% or lower interest rates on their current homes. Home prices are just astronomical. So you got to find out what's the motivation that's going to help them go from, oh, I kind of want to do this to, all right, I have to do this because I can't achieve my goals if I don't. And that's what we're looking for. Just even simply saying, tell me more, and then like muting yourself so that you don't get that feeling of I have to fill this awkward void, because oftentimes people will be like, pause to think, and give them that time to think will help open up that channel of caring and more information that they're willing to tell you. And then the last one is really getting into that pain is what will that do for you and your family? Or the one I like is what happens if you don't do that? So just trying to really hit on what people's motivations are. See how we're doing on time. At 11. I think we're actually pretty close to done here, and then it's just time to answer questions. So Oh, do we have any ahas?
I need to work on my questions and get better at shutting them out. Like that talk more. When you post that up, or show that on the screen, that's an area I need to practice a little bit on. Not terrible at it, but
Mhm.
practice a little bit more because it's an underused. It can be incredibly valuable.
One of the coolest, and this goes to working with clients and as well as working with cooperating agents when you're negotiating. Trick my wife uses, and I love sitting in a car with her when she's negotiating because she'll ask a question, then grab her drink and start drinking so she cannot, or food or whatever. She will put something as a barrier because she's going to not only have to stop drinking and then, swallow
Yeah.
before she can answer. It makes people so uncomfortable. Like in negotiations, the other agent's like, why are you so quiet? And they start talking more and they give away so much of stuff just because she's taking a drink. And so I love sitting there because it's just like, this is brilliant. It's so good. Okay, so now we're going to talk about post lead follow-up. This is kind of the lead capture through everything funnel, essentially. Basically, looking at it, it should be a funnel where you're getting this big stuff, bringing them down into your database. And now you're going to, from the leads through the 19 to connect, you're converting them into contacts so that they're people that you can regularly send mail to, know who you are. You're going to cultivate those contacts for conversions. And then from here, the two things we wanting to see is we want them to buy and sell with us, send referrals, and then basically we bring them clear back up to the top and just keep pulling them through. I would actually say once they're here, they should come back to here. But basically, you're just creating and cementing that relationship that you are their real estate professional. So when they have questions or their friends have questions, you're the person that comes up as the agent that they need to talk to. You made a mention earlier that you come from an industry or from an office of where everyone talks about abundance, and to me, that is the biggest benefit to offices like that, like this, is that we're not really competing with each other. We're all cooperating with each other, and having that mindset just really helps. When you have questions, you can go and ask pretty much anyone, and they'll be able to help you with your knowledge. If you have a client come to you and say, hey, I've got this question and you don't have that answer, you now have an office of 300 plus that can help you find that answer. And that to me is huge. So, just being able to have the combined resources of the whole group is incredible. So now talking about cementing the relationship, this is going to be one high value touch that solidifies your relationship that you've just established and opens the door for future interactions. Any ideas what a high value touch like this could be?
Show a house.
Going to show a house
And then
is
seeing how you operate on a showing, the insights you provide, questions you ask or pose to them,
Mhm.
shows that you know what you're doing.
Yep.
And I think that that's one where it's like, oh, it's not just my buddy Kyle that, I used to work with, but they actually know what he's doing.
Yep, I like that. I think when you go out and show them a home, you can show them your professionalism side, and you're going to get into your own systems and stuff when you do that. One thing that we do on our team is when we are showing homes, as they're walking through, admiring the home, we're looking for potential problems. We're not inspectors or anything like that, but I can look at a water heater and say that's over 10 years old. That's a potential repair item. The furnace is over 20 years old. The roofs, I'm seeing the fiberglass glitter shine on the roof. So that's a problem. And then as we're talking, I can bring up these points so that my clients are like, oh, he's not just looking at how cute the house is. He's looking out to protect our interests. So that's one thing we do is just, we're there to, you know, whether they're wanting to write an offer on that house or not, then we just have a little bit more information and they can see that, oh, okay, you know, we're not just here to chat and look at cute houses. It's, we're looking for potential future problems or, you know, some,
Brand new, this is awesome.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, oh, hey, this is great. They just replaced these windows. They're all with double pane. They did a good job. Or hey, this is a flip. They didn't do the windows, so there's probably other things that they're hiding. You know, so we just kind of over the years have learned what to look for that could be a concern, and then communicate that to them and stuff. Another thing that we did early on, it wasn't even me, but Becca did a post on Facebook that basically said, "Hey, you know, I'm new in real estate, you know, and I am just wanting to do 20 comparative market analyses. You know, let me, you know, tell me your house, where you're living, and I will tell you what your home's worth. You know, it'll be really helpful to me, and people love helping others. So she got a few, and a couple of them were uh her parents' family friends. So that she grew up, they knew her since she was little, um, lived in some really nice homes in Highland. One of their neighbors is an incredible agent named Randy Smith at a different brokerage, quite talented, wonderful guy that everybody likes. And she did the CMAs, and then we got them put into kind of the marketing stuff, got them coming to events. A couple years later, we ended up helping both of these neighbors sell their houses and buy new houses in Saratoga on the lake and at the golf course. And it's turned, we've now helped a dozen between both families of their kids. Like it's turned into so much, and it all was because one Facebook post, which allowed her to take that and then follow through. You know, she said, "I'll get it to you by this date," and did that. So they saw the professionalism, and just then, you know, being able to connect with them after that point. But that one high value touch, you know, came from one. I'm sure she knows the answer, but the amount of people we've helped from that is pretty astronomical. Actually, at the dinner just on last Thursday, there were 12 of one of the family there. And then I don't think the other family came at all. So it was just, you know, 10% of the people there were one family. So, you know, one little Facebook post with something of real value that for these people cemented them into our lives forever. So,
And you love it.
oh,
You
absolutely.
want to help them.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, yes, you want to get paid, but it becomes a point where it's more, hey, I'm helping my friends, not I'm doing this for my job, right? Like.
Yeah.
I've
That
seen
event,
that already with a few of my clients.
that event is like my favorite because you get there and all of these people in this room have worked with us.
Yeah.
So it's just like all of a sudden it's just like we go from person to person all night long, just chatting, talking about their kids. It's not about work. Sometimes work comes up, but that's
Yeah.
not important. It was so good. You know, and at the end of the night, there's 3 or 4 of them that are like, "Hey, my friend's moving here, and I mean, they're going to use you," and it's that's great, but it's really it's these people you start to love because you've worked with them so much. They say that buying a home or selling a home is number 3 on the top stressors that people go through. The other is death and divorce. So, you know, and then in real estate, we deal with people who've gone through death and divorce. So it's we deal with all the highs and the lows of people of human emotion, and they become family, these clients, if you want them to. I'm sure there's a lot of people who transact and don't need to, but that's not how we work. So any ahas on that? So to finish up, how has your thinking changed, or what ideas or mindsets are new?
If possible, if I use these. And it's just kind of what you do with them.
Yeah.
Keep them or develop them into a conversion.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it doesn't mean that. 'Cause John Goetti, the older gentleman that's going through the team hall. And he works really hard with door to door and I'm so impressed with how well he works. But I'm just, and he's doing, I think he's got a couple weeks, I'm just like, that's just not my. Right. Like I am go door to door. I could maybe leave a flyer for my card, but it's just not my way. And so that doesn't mean that I'm not gonna get a lead because they don't do it.
Absolutely. That's one thing that the more I see how everyone operates differently, there is no one right way in this business. We've done, I say we, I wasn't a part of it. But my wife has gone door to door, but she only will do it is if she has a client who has a specific need. She will go looking for a home door to door, but she will not go door to door to try and find a seller who just wants to sell. And there's other people who do that really successfully. It's a proven strategy. But for her, it's just like, I'm not doing it unless, like we have a client who he had a 1031 exchange, so he had to reinvest money to not pay taxes. I think UDOT bought one of his rental properties, and he had to reinvest it. And he had his personal assistant, I think it was being her rent was coming up or something, and she wanted to live close to the office so she could walk. So Becca had like a 3-block radius to find a home. She door knocked every single one of them and found somebody who was interested in, like, okay with the idea of selling. And so like, but she'll do it for a purpose, but she will not do it for a lead. Same thing with, like, she will not cold call anyone. Just she doesn't want to hate coming into work. So now it's, how do you build your business within the confines of your comfort zone, and leaning into those strengths. And she's super responsive and quick, and that's, I think, the thing that she's leaned into the most to help her with it, is that she's just always available, always communicating, and follows through with what her commitments are. But yeah, just because you're not willing to go door knocking doesn't mean you won't get business. And in fact, I would say, based off of what I've seen, if you went door knocking, you probably wouldn't get business, because it's so uncomfortable for you. To develop that skill would take a lot of hard work. Where if you focus on what you're good and comfortable at, the people who already know and like you are going to trust you way easier if you're being true to yourself. So what do you feel differently about? What was meaningful to you about this class? It's really hard when there's only 2 people to ask these questions, but
I appreciate your insights. I have thought too much about doing a newsletter. It's like, oh, what am I gonna come up with every month, right? It's solo agent especially, right?
Yeah.
I have a lot of different demands, right? Lead gen, et cetera, and that's longer term.
Mhm.
Lead gen, less immediate. But it definitely has me thinking, like, oh, could I figure out a good way to, how can I figure out my value? I like your, excuse me, I wrote it down before Becca came to you and said, hey, create an email that somebody would pay $1 for.
Yep.
Like how, yeah, I mean, statistics are great, but would people pay $1 for that? Probably not.
Mhm.
Local restaurant reviews, maybe, if you
Yeah.
throw some of that type of stuff in there, event calendar, it takes me thinking a little bit, like how can I bring that level of value?
Yeah. I've even toyed with the idea of getting like local restaurants, like, hey, I want to come and do a review, maybe even a quick, like, 1-minute social media video, whatever, but I want to offer a 10% discount.
Yeah.
Like, there's just a lot of work to get something like that set up, but that would be huge if you could introduce a new small restaurant with a discount for your clients that helps the restaurant, it gives value to your clients, then, you know, that's something that you could do. Like I said, I've thought about it. I just,
Yeah,
the work I don't want to do. But
if you have it in a pipeline, you don't have to, so.
Um, yeah, so rather than ask the next two questions, I want to ask, what's the one thing that you're going to take from this class and implement?
I am going to figure out a better way, think about my script, if you want to put it that way. If I have to think of it on the fly, I won't think of a smooth way to do it. And I want to make it as easy as possible of when I meet somebody, instead of just giving them my business card and say, hey, call me. A better way of collecting their phone number and or an email address, so I can follow up with them instead of waiting for them.
I like that. When are you gonna have that implemented? When are you gonna?
By Friday.
Okay.
And part of that is figuring out, hey, how's the best way to put this into command? Because right now I've been doing my existing client database slowly. As I have a few minutes here or there, I'll sit down at my computer in my office and do that. I've got command on my phone, but I haven't, I can go sit on the couch and do it, right? And play around with command to become fast with it, efficient with it, when I collect somebody's number to get them input.
Yeah.
So just need to think about scripting that's not pressure, so it's natural, easy.
Yep.
Just like making a new friend.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely. And you can always do it where you put them into your phone
yeah.
and then just
And then
like
put my
on,
command later.
yeah, put them on like Friday at 4, you have a time block that says, hey, do this.
Yeah.
What are you gonna implement? What?
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah. It's not a bombshell. Oh, I thought you were still in the drink.
Just organize my contacts better and have a system of how I'm gonna contact them. And I don't feel uncomfortable talking to people. So I feel like it's natural to talk to them. But that's like,
Mhm.
I guess if I don't know, but I guess just having an organized outlook of how I'm gonna contact you.
And when are you gonna have that implemented?
Currently doing it, but Friday.
Friday? Okay. Cool. Do you have any questions? We have the real expert here now, so. No, you're not the real expert? Oh. I need Dean. Huh. No. No. We're just, any questions?
I asked them all throughout, so.
Yeah, No, I appreciate it.
Two of us that.
Cool.
live
Well,
in the same- Thank you, Brady.
thank you guys.